Every 4 years, the Olympic Games are the most popular sporting event in the world. But what is their story? How could an ancient Greek tradition be reborn over 1,000 years after its disappearance to become the great sporting festivity that it is today? In ancient times, the Olympic Games were a sporting competition organized every 4 years in the religious sanctuary of Olympia in Greece. Created over 1,000 years before our era, the Olympic Games disappeared at the end of the 4th century, the dominant Christian church finding the games too pagan. We would have to wait more than 1,500 years before seeing the first attempts at a restoration of the games. In 1796, the revolutionaries created the Republic Olympiade in Paris. On the Champ de Mars, competitors faced each other in events inspired by the ancient games, such as the foot race or the chariot race, under the eyes of over 300,000 spectators. One citizen in particular was especially enthused. Esprit Paul de Lafont-Poulotti would go as far as demanding the re-establishment of the Olympic Games at the township of Paris. His request was rejected, but it stayed in the archives, and in 1924 the Olympic Committee would render him tribute. In the 19th century, other attempts took place, such as the Rondeau Games in the region of Dauphiné in 1832, the Scandinavian Games in 1834 and 1836, the Athletic Games of Montreal in 1843, 1844, and 1845, and the Zappas Olympic Games in Athens in 1859 and 1870. On November 25, 1892, on the 5th anniversary of the Union of Societies of French Athletic Sports, Pierre de Coubertin, a historian and French professor, proposed the renovation of the Olympic Games. His idea was not maintained, but this did not discourage him, and 2 years later, the Congress for the re-establishment of the Olympic Games took place in the Sorbonne. 2,000 people, comprising 79 sports ambassadors, representing 49 clubs from 13 different nations, were present. There was a general enthusiasm for the cause, and the re-establishment of the Games was voted unanimously. As soon as the Congress was over, Pierre de Coubertin founded the International Olympic Committee to organize the Games. The committee still exists to this day, and it is charged with organizing the Games. If the new Olympic Games were obviously inspired by the ancient Games, they were also based on the ideals of the end of the 19th century and the night tournaments of the Middle Ages. For Pierre de Coubertin, the Olympic Games were a way of promoting communication, fair play between nations, and to build a better world. The first modern Olympic Games were held in Athens in 1896, where 214 male athletes came from 14 different nations to compete in 10 sports and 43 events. It wasn't until the following edition, 4 years later in Paris, that women were allowed to participate. The first Winter Games were held in 1924, and up until 1992, they were held in the same year as the Summer Games. Nowadays, more than 13,000 athletes coming from every corner of the world compete in 33 different sports and over 400 competitions.